Blessings versus prosperity. Before I begin to leak out the secret codes, let us learn what we are about warring against. We are up against poverty. Poverty is not the lack of money and possessions, but the lack of the knowledge of the ownership of them. All this while, the poor had limited themselves to thinking they were poor and not because they were actually poor. They are blinded against all their rights, and so they live thinking themselves as less privileged. It was the year 1995 and I was a toddler in the primaries then. I had a friend, Anthony, who I was so fond of. Anthony was smart and intelligent and always had his ways around people. I loved him but hated something about his attitude. He was beggarly, he thinks of himself poorly, and as a result hardly gets what he wanted. I was little then but still would think there were better ways he could get things without begging for them. I detested giving to people who begged me for it. I wished I knew why. I couldn't even explain it myself. But I was never comfortable with begging. I preferred giving to Ezekiel, my other study mate, because he would only ask. He never begged. I thought of him more to deserve what he wanted from me. But since Anthony would always see my actions as partial, I'd rather slip some coins into his pocket without his consent than wait until he begged for it. But the problem is, he wouldn't even check himself first of all before looking outside. Poverty begins with the programmed mindset of looking outside first without checking the inward abilities. Though this is not the definition of poverty, but this is how it starts. I won't dwell so much on the definitions because I know that each person will have a unique definition of poverty based on personal experiences of its effect. But before I move further, I would like to give a brief description so you would hate poverty even more and adhere to these secret codes I'm about to show you. Proverbs chapter 19 verse 7. A poor man is shunned by all his relatives. How much more does his friends avoid him? Though he pursues them with pleading, they are nowhere to be found. What these words mean is that if you are poor, you are meant to be on your own. Everyone will run away from you as one who is sick with a contagious and deadly disease. Poverty is truly the most contagious and deadly of all diseases. It transmits through all the possible forms of contact, even through all the human sense organs. This implies that when you expose your sense of smell, taste, sight, hearing, and feeling, etc. around a poor person, you would contract it soon enough. It is therefore wise that even his own household and friends should stay clear from him until he can decide his ways out of poverty. Before you misunderstand me, let us look at the characteristics of a poor man. Who are the poor? We often mistake the poor for the needy. A poor person is different from a person in need. Some persons are obviously disadvantaged and will need our help. They sincerely lack the same advantages and privileges as the normal people, but yet do not stop trying to achieve their dreams. We refer to such persons as the needy. But the poor, on the other hand, does not need help because they cannot be helped. A poor person is one who does not have and thinks he can never have. But the needy are those who does not have, but their efforts would encourage one to give them some push-up. The poor are those who protest against prosperity in words, actions, and attitudes. They ruin their belief system by how they think, and no amount of conviction can change them until they choose to change how they think. They think they need help from the rich because they are not as privileged. They think they cannot do anything themselves without the help of the government. They think like the robot Kiyosaki's poor dad. To the poor, life is all about them. What you often hear from their mouth is me, my, and mine. They complain, murmur, give excuses, lazy around, sleep more than half of their entire lifetime, and blame almost everyone and everything around them for their problems. God has given us equal opportunities. We are all exposed to same privileges, but some persons are never willing to expend an effort to help themselves by learning the secret codes of prosperity. They see the prosperous as those who are headed towards destruction, but wouldn't mind if the money of the rich is spent all on them. The distance between poverty and prosperity is just a decision away. The rich have taken everything from the poor already. Don't let them take this one thing that is left, which is the decision to cross over to the other side of life. Decide to be poor and you will be poor. Decide to get rich and you will be rich as they are. I wish you would choose to be prosperous rather than being just rich, because you can be rich and not prosperous. You can be wealthy, famous, but not prosperous. But you cannot be prosperous without attracting all of them. 1 Kings chapter 5 verse 4. God has deposited all that you need to get you prosperous, but you let these things sleep within you unused. The power within you is more than can make a whole nation great, but it's been abused. God has blessed us so much, but some have refused to accept their blessings. When you know how blessed you are, you have automatically escaped poverty. Blessings are the cure to poverty. But funny enough, most people who are poor are actually blessed but refuse to look inward to recognize their blessings. They want prosperity but would like to achieve it without engaging these blessings. And this is not possible. Prosperity is different from blessings. Blessings are what God embedded within us so that we can achieve prosperity. The planting of our blessings leads to the harvest of our prosperities. Blessings are always in seed forms, which are to be planted in order to harvest the fruits of our prosperity at the right time. Proverbs 10:22. The blessings of the Lord brings wealth, and he adds no trouble to it. You clearly see from the verse above that it is blessings first before wealth. I'd like to call these blessings ideas. So when blessings in the verse above is replaced with ideas, you would have the new verse as the ideas of the Lord brings wealth. Ideas are the power behind prosperity and not money. They are the extra living words dispelled by God, flying about in the atmosphere after he was done creating the world with them. They are the creative power remains that will empower us to continue in God's pattern of creativity, so that we, being like God, should also continue creating and replenishing the earth from where he stopped. God gave us wisdom, which is the insight to ideas. Once ideas are trapped and understood by the mind, they will start to form into seeds. These seeds will then beget trees later on, and the trees will finally beget fruits. How do I know this? Genesis chapter 1 verse 11. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit trees that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth." And it was so. After God had finished speaking, the Bible concluded by saying, "And it was so." That means that those things appeared on the earth immediately he commanded them to appear. So I thought, but no, it wasn't so. They were not actually visible that soon. What he initially created by speaking those words were ideas. He was speaking to the earth and energizing it with the power to produce those things as he described. Genesis chapter 2 verse 5. Now no shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to walk the ground. Those things were already created. Even the Bible confirmed it by saying it was so. But up till Genesis chapter 2 verse 5, no shrub had yet appeared on the earth. The earth has been given ideas of what should happen when it rained on it and men walk on the ground, but it had only kept this power and authority until rain and men did their part. God is a procedural creator. He gives you the ideas, the blessings, but expects you to walk with it. Favor is introduced not while you are resting, but while you begin to walk with the ideas given to you. The part where your human energy and wisdom cannot cover is where God's favor comes true for you. God has given the earth the power to produce fruits when your ability to walk on the earth is displayed. The part favor plays here is in providing rain on the earth. So the harder you work, the luckier you get. Lots of things happen around us daily that we do not recognize as God's favor for us, because we are either not working hard towards that path or our insights are blinded to seeing it. The only way God reaches us is through our minds, and the best gift he has given to us is the gift of insight, wisdom. Insight is the ability of our minds to see and recognize God's ideas and favor. There are two kinds of eyes, the ones outside and the ones inside. Insight is achieved by the eyes inside, the eyes of wisdom, and these are the eyes that actually help us to see. The eyes outside can only help us have a view. Without the ones inside, we do not truly see what we view. This is the reason why the poor views ideas, but only the rich see them and appreciate the favor that follows thereafter. Actions precede seeing to achieve success, but viewing without seeing would hardly be accompanied by proper actions. Ideas are the right information required to solve a given problem, and these are what God blesses man with. Let's proceed to the products of our innate blessings called prosperity. We need to ask ourselves what prosperity is and what it is not. When the word prosperity is mentioned, the mind would immediately interpret it as money, but money is not prosperity. Prosperity only attracts money as it does to every other thing. Without this understanding, the mindset will seek to make money in order to be able to buy its way into prosperity, but prosperity cannot be bought. People with such mindsets are likely to end up in confusion and frustration. The easier way is to be prosperous first, then attract
attract everything else, including money. Money answers all things, but not on the issues of prosperity. Prosperity comes by asking the right questions and not by having answers to the wrong ones. When answers are readily available where there are no initial questions asked, the answers would become questions which nobody asked, and this is the reason for the confusions by money. Money is the answer that everyone seeks, but they bypass the question that wisdom would initially ask with ideas. There are a lot of things your assets cannot do for you. Prosperity is about rest, but money doesn't give it. Money can buy a bed, but wouldn't ensure a good sleep. Money would always give more or less than required. It never does anything accurately. For instance, money and prosperity can be illustrated with a relationship between spouses. A lady prefers her spouse to ask her questions she would give answers to, and not provide answers to the questions she never asked. The first system creates a bonding relationship, while the last will mar it. Prosperity is like asking questions and letting life provide answers, while money provides answers even when no question was asked. When we talk prosperity, we are actually talking of success, wisdom, favor, well-being, peace, protection, faith, and rest. Switching to the spiritual perspective of prosperity, we'll see it clearer in Galatians chapter 5 verse 22 to 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things, there is no law. Remember, we said prosperity is fruit. When you sow the seeds of righteousness, you will reap love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.